Hey, Adam, welcome to the show. I appreciate you being here.
Oh, great to be here. Thank you for having me.
This is a special episode. It's 9/11, so a big day in history. So I thought I would start out because 9/11, everybody, I think, always remembers where they were at, like their memory of that. So I wanted to know, where were you at when it happened, and what's your memory of kind of sequence of events after that?
I was driving to work on East Golf Links in Tucson, Arizona. I was right outside the Craycroft, between the Craycroft and Swan gates at Davis Monthan Air Force Base. I worked on the south side of the base. I had to go around it, and we were at a dead stop for like an hour. They had just closed down the main gate on Craycroft at the time, and I was listening to the morning show. John and Frank is what it was called, and they are usually kind of goofy guys. But then they said, "Oh yeah, the towers in New York were just hit by planes or whatever." And I kind of sat there, and like, "Oh, that kind of seems like a dumb thing to say. Like, why would you say something like that?" And then all of a sudden, they were like, "No, this is actually real. It got real quick." And I remember finally getting to work, and everybody was standing in the break room watching the TV, and then they were looking at me because I was in the guard at that time, and I was just like, what's going on? I heard something on the radio, and then that's when I saw the replays. First time I saw it was when I got to work and was watching it on TV with everybody else.
Oh, so you were in the guard at the time.
I was in the National Guard at the time. I was in the National Guard from '98 to 2007.
Were you ever on active duty?
Just during deployments.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, that's enough.
Yeah, yeah,
That's,
yeah, yeah.
that's plenty. That's plenty.
In that
Well, that's
era, it
wild.
was enough. Yeah,
Yeah, but that was for everybody in the military community. Everything got locked down
yeah,
like immediately. That I remember my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, he had to actually walk in to the on base because they wouldn't even let vehicles in at that point. That was at the time Pope Air Force Base right next to Fort Bragg. So you can imagine Fort
yeah,
Bragg was like battened down pretty tight.
yeah,
So there was no cars coming in.
yeah, yeah. It was nuts. I'd never seen traffic like that ever, especially down in that area. And yeah, everything was on lockdown, and all the Humvees, the armored Humvees, and all that other stuff that they had, they're just at the front gate. And I was like, man, what's really going on? And then I got to work and I saw it on TV, and I was like, oh, okay, this
Yeah, now
makes
it makes
sense now.
sense.
Yeah, take a different route home. Yeah.
Yeah. I had just gotten out of the Air Force 3 months before. So I was actually in school, and I walked in kind of the same thing, walked into like the lunch area, food area between classes, and everybody was crowded around the TV. And I was like, what's going on? And that's like, saw the replays, I think when I first saw it, it was only the first tower that was hit.
Yeah.
But my sister at the time was a consultant, and she was in New York a lot. And then it was immediate like, where is my sister and my brother-in-law and all this stuff. So definitely crazy times, but it's wild. Like everybody remembers exactly what they were doing when they found out,
Yeah. Yeah. It
which is
was it
wild.
was something else.
Yeah, but there's a generation now that's serving that never saw that, never, that wasn't in their lifetime.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
I'm old. Like,
I just dated myself. I'm like, I got out before 9/11.
thank you for that. I feel old now. Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
You had to sum that up. To sum that up. Well, but that slingshot or not slingshot, but that like changed the trajectory of a lot of people that were serving
Mm,
or were getting ready to serve. It actually was a catalyst for many people to serve.
yeah.
So it's, I think, a big day in
Oh,
the community.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I want to switch gears a little bit, and I want to talk to you about entrepreneurship, and more specifically about owning multiple businesses. Because it's one thing to start one business. I mean, that's enough. That's enough to break somebody. But
Yeah.
having more than one business, which you do, I think is unique and really shows your mental fortitude and your ability to solve problems, because that's a lot of what goes into entrepreneurship. So I want to know, how did you go from the military, being in the guard, to becoming a successful entrepreneur with multiple businesses? Like, what motivated you to become an entrepreneur?
You know, well, the first part we have to focus on that keyword that you said was mental. I think a lot of it has to do with that. The other, on a more serious side of it, though, I knew growing up that I've always wanted to have my own business, and I had several businesses in my younger years, I'll just say. And then as I got older, there was an opportunity to get into internet radio and podcasting at the time, and I started doing that around 2012. And at that time, we had created, if not the first, one of the very first all veteran podcast networks back then. Ran that very successfully for a couple of years, and then I switched over and created what is now Heroes Media Group, and I ran into that I've been doing that ever since. And then it wasn't until 2020, just kind of in the middle of the pandemic, I decided, hey, I'm going to start another company, and I wanted to do a beverage company. I had a coffee line, and I was kind of using it as like promotional stuff and giveaways, but there was an opportunity to partner with a couple of people that could kind of handle the heavy lifting for me, so it made sense at that time. And then with that, excuse me, I'd say about 4 or 5 months later, a mutual friend of ours, Travis McVeigh, who's been a long time friend of mine, said, "Hey, why don't you get in the spirits line and do this?" And that's something I've always kind of like, "Oh, okay, that'd be kind of cool." So I did, and that's kind of how the beverage company was formed and born. And then 2 3 years ago, I had a friend of mine asked me to get into this suit company with him. He wanted to create custom made to measure suits for people, and we work with a lot of different nonprofit organizations, and we suit transitioning veterans that get out of the military.
That's really awesome. I mean, and those are all different industries that you've worked in. You mentioned Travis and another friend with the suit business. Do you think having partners or mentors or somebody else helping go into a new industry sets you up for success? Because I think also too, sometimes business relationships, just like any relationship, can have drama. So what are your thoughts on that?
It's both. You're right. There's a lot of drama, but I've experienced it on both sides. There's a lot of good things there. When you get into business with somebody, let's say you have a business partner, one of the things that I would recommend, if you're out there listening and you and a friend want to start a business, write a like a letter of agreement or a contract between the two of you, so there's no surprises. I've done both where I didn't have one and it will ruin a friendship. Contracts save friendships, my opinion. But when you get into a business, it may not work 6 months down the road, a year or two down the road. One partner or one person that you decided to work with decides that they don't want to do it anymore, and you kind of have to kind of pick up their slack, if you will, and you might not be in a financial position to hire somebody to pick up that slack. So now the responsibility falls on you. So it's all kind of a learning curve. But I think if you keep an open mind and you focus on the end goal, whatever that goal may be for that particular business you have, then things usually tend to work themselves out the way they're supposed to.
Yeah, I completely agree with having something written. I think that's so important because people's lives change, and their level of passion might change or never have matched yours. So
Right.
you could be really into this and they're just kind of like, yeah, it would be cool if it worked out. But I think also a lot of people don't understand the level of work that's going to go into it.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and that's
And
hard.
you have to balance it out with, with my schedule. I do a lot of traveling. The media company is I would say primarily my day-to-day operations that I do, but then I do schedule things out for the beverage company, and then there's times where I have to travel for the suit company, excuse me. But it's a matter of being organized, which is something I really wasn't, and I call it kind of organized chaos because it can be a little chaotic, and it's maybe not something I recommend for everyone to do. I'm the type of person that I have to be doing something all the time, and it's if I get bored with doing something with the media company for like today, for example, then I know this afternoon I'll go, work on the coffee side, or I'll go meet clients, in the local area, or do follow-up emails or whatnot. It's nice to have, if I get sick of one thing for the day, I can go do something else.
That kind of leads to my next question is managing three businesses is a lot. Like you're saying, you have the the ability and flexibility to pivot when your mind wants to be elsewhere. But do you have strategies that you use to manage the day to day of all of those things? Like, is it, on Mondays I do the media group, Tuesdays I do the suits, or is it just kind of like as things need to be handled, they get handled?
It's a combination of the two. So usually what happens is I'll take a calendar, like you can't see, but I have a desk calendar in front of me, and I'll look at the entire month, and I'll say, okay, am I traveling this month? Mark those days off. And it's usually the day of travel and the day before travel. I don't schedule anything. The media side of things, I tend to do interviews Mondays and Wednesdays because I live in a development and landscapers are here on Tuesdays. So on Tuesdays, I can't really do a lot of media stuff on Tuesday because it's loud outside. So I'll go do something with the beverage stuff. The suit company, we're not at a point to where it's taking up a whole lot of time. It's kind of, hey, we got some stuff coming up next month. Great, I can schedule that out. Not a big deal. But it's mostly the media and the beverage side of things right now, and that they're easy enough. The other thing is eventually get to a point where you find people that believe in your vision and want to play a part of it and delegate, have them come on board. If you can afford to hire somebody, great. If you have somebody that internships, I've done a lot of internships with young college people across the country. And a lot of these college kids need so many hours to get a credit. And at the end of the semester, I'll sign off on it that they did X amount of hours. And, so it works out that way. So I'd say delegate if you can as well.
How do you make that decision, though? I will admit I'm completely guilty of this, is because it's your baby. It's something that you've put your time, you've made a lot of sacrifice to build. And especially if you're building like a brand and a reputation and a work ethic and kind of your caliber of things that get put out, how do you know when or force yourself to make that leap? Because it is an expense or it's time. Like doing internships, yeah, you may get a free intern, but you still have to manage that intern and
Right.
delegate those tasks. So how do you, get to that point?
You got to look at your schedule and realize, okay, if you want to take your business to the next level, you can't do it by yourself. There's going to come a time where if you want to take your stuff to the next, there's that old saying, many hands make light work. That's the case. And here's the thing, you're not going to know if you hired the right person or not. You won't know until you try, or until you do it. I promise you, as a business owner, you are going to have times where you hire the wrong person. But you know what? It's a lesson learned. And if you learn that lesson, now you know what to look for in the next person when you hire. But you'll never know that until, like you said, Lazy, take that step and move forward. But to get to the next level, you can't do it all by yourself. Nobody ever got to where they wanted to go in life doing it alone.
Yeah. You start to run out of hours in the day.
Yeah, you just and like with the media company, as big as we are, right now we're still the small fish in a large pond. But I have two producers right now that help with the production side of things. I outsource to a marketing agency that helps with social media, clients with social media and stuff like that. I can't do all that stuff on my own. There's not, like you said, there's not enough hours in the day. I'm fortunate and I'm lucky enough to find the right people, but there's sometimes there's people that come to you for seasons, right? And you might have an employee that's good and they're there for 6 months and then they move on to something else or whatnot, and then you got to find somebody else. But that's all part of the business. You can't take it personally because your business is still going. You need to move forward. You got clients that rely on you.
How do you handle the learning curve? Because I think a lot of this is the fear of the unknown. Like you don't know that, so you have to learn that lesson or that information or whatever it is. Where do you start? Like, do you just figure it out? Do you reach out to peers? Do you Google it? Because I feel like I have Googled how to Google something. I mean, I've Googled.
I I I have always tended to do things a little bit differently. I was always kind of like the black sheep, if you will, where I was just like, oh, I'm not going to ask him. I'm just going to figure it out. And I would find a way to do something, and I would purposely find a way to do it and make it harder, just because I'm just, oh, I'm stubborn. I'm a guy. I'm stubborn. But as I've gotten more seasoned, I will find people that have either, I can't really find a lot of people that have done what I've done or what I'm doing, but I know a lot of people that have businesses. And when it comes to hiring people, doesn't matter what business you're in, I've talked to people that have been far more successful than me, and asked them, how do they hire somebody? What do they look for? Et cetera. And I've hired people for, corporate jobs that I've had in the past, but it's just different. And it's, if you have a strong few people that you can at least go talk to, you and I, for example, I'll ask you for advice on things that I certainly don't know anything about. Travis is another, a mutual friend, Travis. I'll ask him for advice on stuff. It's, you ask people. You can't be afraid to ask, because then you take a little bit from what everybody's told you and kind of form it into your own. And you're going to fail. You can't be afraid to fail. Fail a lot, because that'll help you keep moving forward.
Yeah, that's what I say. Fail while running, because you can get up a lot quicker if you got
Yeah.
some momentum.
Right?
It's that's my motto. Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna happen. Just get it up to ramming speed, and then it's a lot easier to bounce back.
Right. Right. Yeah, bro. Got it. Okay, here
Yep,
we go. Yeah.
on your feet again.
Yeah.
No, but I think that's so true. I really struggle with the expense, because when you're building a business, and not making a ton of money, that's really hard to spend that money, because you don't know if you're going to get any more.
Right.
But now I tend to look at it as an investment, and that this is an investment in my business. It's an investment in my mental health, in order to free up time for me to have a life outside of my businesses. Like, that's, carving out that space. But I will say it's hard, and I've wasted money. Like, I've wasted a lot of money on graphic design. I've wasted some money on, assistants, or just, for specific tasks, because
Right.
I, definitely have the budget to hire somebody full time. But that's a really hard thing when spend money on something and you don't get the result that you were looking for.
Right. That's the biggest punch in the gut, or heartbreak. And the money thing, it's it's great when the bills are due, and you said something there about, like, it helps with your mental health and it gives you time to actually have a life. You have to. It's not an expense. It's definitely an investment, and it's an investment into yourself. It's an investment into the business that you are growing. And when it comes to money, I kind of have a different perspective. I was horrible with money, have been my entire life. But one of the things I stopped focusing on was, okay, how am I going to pay the bills this month? Right now, what's my purpose? My purpose is focus on the purpose. The purpose for me doing all this was to help people get to where they wanted to go. Was the purpose was to have people consume media differently than what we see in today's society. I wanted to help people, and I wanted people to think for themselves. There's a lost art of critical thinking, and we need to start thinking for ourselves again. So I've tried to focus on the purpose. And when I focus on the purpose and not the money side of it, it seems like the money always shows up when I need it to.
Yeah. That's so true. I completely agree. Like if your cause is for you have good intentions,
Yeah.
I feel like everything else does kind of get in line because people can tell when you're up to no good or you're just in it for the sale or that you're not authentic.
Right.
People, especially in the military community, like we
Mhm.
can smell you coming a mile away. Like that's you're not real.
Mhm. Next.
So yes, yes. So I agree with that. It's just hard though. I think with all the things you have to run in a business, which leads me to my next question is like, how do you do that on multiple levels, with different businesses just to stay in the game mentally, accomplish the goals? Like, do you have some type of mental and physical, emotional things that you do to stay balanced and have that life outside of business?
Yeah. I'm kind of a gym rat. So I get up at my day usually starts about 4:30 in the morning. I'll go to the gym for a couple hours. I'll come home, have my coffee, might look at my emails, and then plan my day. The other part of that is I try to go, I'm an outdoors guy. I love to be outdoors. At least once every other week, and usually it's on a weekend. If I don't have anything going on, I'll try to go fishing for just a couple hours. And my morning workouts let me get ready for the day, and the fishing is just, whether I catch anything or not, it's just nice being outdoors, and that lets me just kind of escape the reality. And then here's something I don't usually admit to people, but I'm gonna do it here. Is I do like hypnotherapy like every other month, and that kind of gets me balanced and focused on whatever it is my goal is for that month or that quarter or whatnot, and it just kind of keeps me grounded. So if I'm feeling anxiety or stress or whatnot, it's a great way to kind of find relief. A lot of people meditate, some people do this, that, and the other thing. So those are like my kind of three things that I work into my schedule, and I make sure I make time for those things
What is
because
hypnotherapy?
hypnotherapy is I didn't know this last year when I started doing it. A friend of mine was just like, "Hey, I'm gonna let's do hypnotherapy." I was like, "Listen, if you're gonna like make me bark like a dog, I'm not gonna do this. Like this
I'm not
is
gonna,
just no."
I'm not gonna be a
Uh,
chicken.
Yeah, yeah, like walking around in the store and all of a sudden, no, I'm not doing that. No, it was you're very like you close your eyes and they kind of walk you through like a journey, and it works for me because I'm a very visual person. So when somebody's talking to me and explaining, like Lacey, if you're explaining me what your house looks like, and even though I can't see it physically there, I'm picturing it in my mind as you're explaining it to me. So you have a person that will kind of take you on this journey, and it's not like plant-based or anything like that. It's like deep meditation, and they kind of walk you through, okay, what is it that you want to okay, I want to focus on my anxiety. Why am I feeling anxious? And they kind of walk you through that process. Okay, tell me what you see. Well, I see this tree in a meadow and blah 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 blah. And it usually lasts about 45 minutes. And by the end of it, you're calm, kind of collected, and you have a sense of like, okay, I understand what's been going on and what's caused all of it, and I know what I need to do so it doesn't happen again.
I like that. I think I do meditation and definitely working out. I think I can't speak for everybody, but I think like a few years ago, like entrepreneurship was like, this is gonna break me if I don't take care of myself. Like mentally, it's hard. Like every day, the decision fatigue that you get, problems that just keep coming at you.
Yeah.
People like trying to figure stuff out. Like there's so many things coming at you that if you're not protecting yourself mentally and emotionally, I think it's you're kind of heading for the rocks.
Yeah, and if you have a family or whatnot, then you're not present with them in the time that you're supposed to do family time. One of my guilty pleasures is when my son was still young enough, we used to go hunting at our family cabin in Wisconsin, and I'm like, I'd be sitting in the tree stand and I'm just like, I need to check my emails. I need to do this. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. I'm not supposed to be doing that right now. I'm supposed to unplug. And it's okay to unplug. You want to unplug. Make time for yourself to unplug, even if it's, for 30 minutes. I know during like any day of the week, like see, I might just be like, okay, I need to get out of this chair. And otherwise, this computer is going to learn how to fly, right?
Yeah.
It's like I'll put my shoes on, I'll take my dogs for a walk for 30 minutes, and I come back and it's like, okay, now I can be productive again because I shook off whatever was bothering me. That's all you need. You do that a couple of times a day throughout the week. You'd be surprised at just how much more work you get done taking little breaks here and there. Mental breaks, I guess some people call them.
Yeah, I call them mental health breaks. I say that
Yeah.
to my kids, like I'm on a mental health break. And it might be that, I go and, I move around. I say I'm like Goldilocks. My house, my office is at my house. But like, if it gets too much, like I'll go outside. I'll work on my back porch, just screened
Yeah.
in. So I call it my outdoor office. If I don't like that, I'll go sit on my couch and I'll type there. I have like spots in my house where the work I have to get done, I do better in that. Like I do better writing on the love seat in my office than I do at my desk.
Yeah.
So I know kind of where I can motivate myself. And I use that kind of as rewards is, like definitely the getting outside. That is my reward. Like I'm definitely an outside person. And so I'm always like, if I get this all done, like quickly, then I have time to go for a run before my next meeting and also, as a side note, helps you run faster. If you know you have a meeting coming, you're like, I gotta get home. It's highly motivating. But
I'll
I
take your
agree.
word for it. I'll take your word for it.
Yes. I might show up a little red faced for some meetings, but no, I think you're right. Like it's this mental time for yourself and being able to be present in the other aspects of your life. It helps you be better at business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%.
What are some of the common mistakes that you see other entrepreneurs or new entrepreneurs make when it comes to, either one, business in general or having more than one business? I think that is something unique because that I should say it too. That's something new for me. I have, the military money expert, but then also started a new business, Mill MoneyCon. And so they are two separate things and require a different skill set. I mean, business applies to business in general, both sides, but different industry and things like that. So I'm curious what mistakes you see other people like me make.
Well, first off, I don't think you've made mistakes. I think you've done
Thank you.
you've been very successful. I'm very proud of you for what you've accomplished. You've done a fantastic job with that. So let
Thank
me
you.
just say that first. I would say as looking out at other people, not having a business plan or some type of plan in place for what you want to do with your business. If you're just kind of like, hey, let's shoot from the hip and see what happens. Yeah, have your resume ready because you're going to need that in
Yeah.
about 6 months. You know what I mean? And the other thing is, a lot of people are like, I can do this by myself. You can't. And I say that very respectfully because I was one of those people for the longest time. The first several years, I was like, I can do this by myself. Don't worry about it. And it was just like, you can tell I don't have much hair left. Like I was pulling my hair out because I was doing everything by myself. And I was like, and then you get into the things that you know that need to get done, and you either A, have no idea how to do them, or B, you hate doing them and you don't want to do them, so you find every excuse in the book not to do them. And then what happens there? Oh, that causes more stress, anxiety, and you get further and further behind. So you might not have the money to hire somebody right now. But find the things that you are good at. Make a list. I would challenge any of your listeners to sit down and make a list of the things that you're good at and the things that you're not good at. I'll give you an example. Again, I mentioned earlier that I was horrible with money. Not afraid to admit it. Horrible. I went and I got an accountant, and I got a very good accountant, and they offer bookkeeping. Here you go. Call me if I need to spend some money or tell me when my taxes are done. Otherwise, I don't have to worry about anything. He handles all his entire staff handles all of that stuff. I got a phone call 2 years ago. He's like, I need you to go spend $500. This was the beginning of December. And I was like, why? He's like, because you're at that point, we need to write something off, go spend $500. That is the microphone that you see right now. That's what I spent the money on. That was it. And I didn't hear from him until like end of April, first part of May, when he's like, all right, your taxes are done. Everything's good. You got any questions? No. Great. See you next year. Like that was because I wasn't good at that. I didn't want the stress of writing stuff off and trying to figure everything out. I accepted that. Social media, it's the bane, it's the necessary evil in today's world, especially as a business owner. Hate it. I can't stand it. But am I doing it? A little bit, not to the best of my abilities, but now that we got somebody on staff that's going to be handling more, taking over more of that here next month. So, but some of the listeners are like, oh, you're paying somebody, you can afford to do that. I spent the first 6 years doing it on my own, and you have to do that. And here's the other thing: I don't necessarily look at it like it's work. It's a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's just be clear.
It is a lot of work. But here's the other thing. I'm crazy enough to believe that I can change the world. But I'm also smart enough to know that I can't do it by myself. You got to have people to help you.
Yeah, those are good points. I think even if you are good with money, like I wouldn't say that I'm perfect with money, but being a money as my job, then you think you could do that all yourself. But at a certain point, like you can't do all of those things that you would normally do, because now you have a business to run and requires a lot more. So you still need help with those things. And again, like I think the universe has taught me those things. It's like, I do need to ask for help. I do need to hire, or not necessarily hire, but give that task to somebody else, and being willing to pay for that, because actually that payment to them makes it so I can make more money elsewhere. Because if I'm stuck doing this one thing, I'm not out there hustling for the money.
Here, Liz, you make a good point right there. One of the reasons why I started Heroes Media Group is I wanted to create jobs here in the United States. I'm certainly not against virtual assistants overseas. I'm not against that. I just wanted to create jobs here in the United States because we need jobs here in the United States, right? So I look at it as if I can pay somebody else to do it, which is why I got another producer here recently in the last 2 weeks. I hired another producer. I can do the production stuff myself, but I'm at a point where I need to be doing other things to grow the business, and I can't do that if I'm behind the mic or if I'm behind the keyboard or producing everybody else's stuff. And wasn't part of the reason for me to do this was to create jobs? Well, I just hired somebody, so I created a job for somebody. So now you're meeting a need, and in doing so, it's allowing me to go recruit, do more networking, bring people in, make deals with other media companies, or get sponsorship monies and stuff like that. So again, it goes back to what you said. You can't be afraid to ask or hire somebody, and because that's a good thing. That means you're growing.
Yeah. And you're actually probably going to make more money by spending that money on something else, because again, it freed up the time and your mental bandwidth to be creative. I think that's the other part, is you have to brainstorm and plan and think. And if you are just bogged down your mind with only tasks that just have to be done, you can't ever think about the future with all that other crap in your head.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you, for somebody that right now that maybe has one business and maybe have firm footing or somewhat firm footing on that, but is thinking about starting a second business, what's your advice for them? Maybe they might be a little bit scared. Maybe they might be a little big for their britches. What's your advice for either or?
You know what? Jump. Do it. But before you do, write down what you want to accomplish with it. What is it that you see your business doing? And write down different departments or areas that you think you might need help with in the first 12 months. And then do you know anybody that would be willing to help you, or do you, if you could pay them a little bit here and there to do, contract work for certain jobs for X, Y, and Z, right? And see if you can fill in those positions. And if you can't, that's fine. Do it anyway. Jump, do it. What's the worst
Yeah.
that's going to happen?
Yeah. Again, that fail running, like
Yeah.
get up to ramming speed.
If you're passionate about what you do and you believe in yourself and you believe in it, that what you're wanting to do to create, then do it. The biggest mistake is not doing it, because the other thing is you got to look at it is, could you change somebody's life with the business that you're starting? Most businesses change people's lives in some form or fashion. So it would almost be selfish of you not to do it, because you could be helping somebody else that needs it.
That's solid advice right there. That's so true. The impact that you can have on somebody else in a positive way is a great motivator when you're, doubting if you should do something or not.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to switch gears again and ask you a couple of quick random questions I ask everybody.
All right.
So first off, what is one resource or tool that you use that makes your life easier, or work?
Ooh, tool that makes life easier. Just a calendar. I got a desk calendar and my calendar on my phone. I know that sounds really cheesy, but I'm pretty simple.
Yeah, me too. The calendar is key.
Yeah.
If it's not on the calendar, it's not real.
If it's not on my calendar, it never happened.
Yeah. I'm like Ron Burgundy with my calendar. Like if it's on there, like I'm doing it. So, all right. What is your favorite book right now, or your favorite book of all time?
Favorite book of all time would be Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil.
Okay, I've never read that. What's it about?
That is so Napoleon Hill also wrote the book Think and Grow Rich. Same author. And so Outwitting the Devil is, he has a conversation. The book was written in like 1924, 34. Don't quote me on the actual date. But he sits down and does an interview with whom he calls the devil. And it's really about attracting things into your life. It's kind of like the law of attraction, so to speak, in the earlier years. And it really talks about how to look at life and what's going on in the world back then. And what's crazy about it is the book was published in 2011, and even today, as we do this interview, everything in that book you could literally tie into today's events and what's going on in the world today. It's really incredible.
Okay, well, I'll be sure to put links to that for everybody in the show notes. That sounds like a good one. All right, now it is time for my favorite part of the podcast, which is game time. And today, in honor of your visit to the Military Money Show, we are going to play Would You Rather Business Edition.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you 5 scenarios, and you have to tell me which one you would rather do. If they seem pretty solid, I will say that you got that one correct. And if you get 3 out of the 5 correct, you get bragging rights that you won game time on the Military Money Show.
I'm so nervous now. Wow, this is a lot of pressure. Okay. All right.
No pressure whatsoever. All right, first one. And some of these I think are really...
Sorry.
Some of these I think are really great things to think about too in business. So it's half fun, half continued learning.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Number 1. Would you rather have a brilliant business idea but no funding, or an ample funding but a mediocre idea?
I'm the wrong person to ask that question. I would rather have what was the word you used? I'd rather have a great idea and no funding, because I feel like I've kind of lived that already in my life.
I completely agree. You definitely get a point on that one. Yes. I think it would be easier to get funding if you have a brilliant idea.
Yes.
Like if it's just ho hum, everybody's like, "What's that about?" Like if
Yeah,
you're
whatever.
just trying to serve everybody and you have something basic, nobody wants to buy something basic
Right.
or invest in something basic. So, okay, got the first one. Number two, would you rather face a major crisis in your business and come out stronger, or have a smooth journey with minimal challenges but less growth?
I'd rather face a crisis.
I agree. I'm going to give you a point on that one. I think that, the saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Like all of the things that have been challenges in my business have definitely made me a faster and stronger runner.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got two. Number three, would you rather be the sole decision maker in your business but face all the consequences alone, or have a strong leadership team to share the responsibility and the consequences with?
I'd rather take the consequences myself. I would like to have a strong leadership team, but I would rather handle and take the consequences on myself and not the team.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. You get that one too. All right, so you have bragging rights already, but we're going to continue to play anyway. You can rest easy now, though.
All right. Ooh.
Yeah, weight off your shoulder, no pressure. You can stop sweating.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, number four. Would you rather start a business in a well-established, competitive industry with high potential profits, or enter a niche market with less competition but potentially lower returns?
It's a good thing you saved that one for last after I got this already. I would, is there ever a really good time to start a business? I would probably say the second one, quite honestly.
I agree with that one. Enter a niche market with less competition but potentially lower returns. I think if you have great purpose, like you have a greater impact in a
Right.
smaller niche community.
Yeah.
So, okay, great minds think alike, Adam. I see. I see. All right, number five, we're going to finish strong. Would you rather have a business that achieves rapid success but lacks long-term sustainability, or a slower growing business with a strong
Second one.
foundation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't even need
Yeah.
to finish that. Like that. That's no doubt. I've actually been asked that question before. I'm going into my 7th year with the media company right now, and I have no vision of stopping anytime soon. I joke around with my family. I said, this company will be here long after they put me in the dirt. That's the goal. It doesn't have to happen overnight. I don't, would I like to be a multimillionaire and the jets and stuff? Nah, not anymore. Really, well, maybe a jet, but like,
Yeah.
I don't need any of that big stuff. I want to create jobs and create generational wealth for other people. I want to create an environment where people want to come work for our company, and because they enjoy that. And you can't do that overnight, especially, and if you do, it's not going to last for very long. And I want something that's going to be here long after I'm gone.
I love that. I think the climb is are the good old days. Like even, not that I have been doing this as long as you, but I mean, I might actually have, but but looking back at all of the things that you've accomplished, like those are the sweet things.
Oh yeah.
It's not necessarily about the money that you've made. It's like, wow, like the impact that I've made, what I've built, all the things that I'm real big about, all the things I've learned, like making myself stronger in business, I think. So I completely agree. You definitely got a solid 5 correct on game time. So you have big bragging rights. Make sure you put that on your LinkedIn account. Yes. Wave to the little people. Well, Adam, I really appreciate you being on the show and playing the game. Can you tell everybody listening where they can learn more about you and your 3 businesses?
Yeah, I'll make it real easy for you. I just put up my own personal website, MrAdamBird.com. So Mr. Adam Bird, BIRD.com. It's got a kind of a bio and a list of all the businesses that I have right now currently on there. So, and I'd love to help if anybody's listening. If there's anything I can do for you, don't hesitate to reach out. You can find me on social media at Mr. Adam Bird on all the platforms. Just hit me up. I'm a nice guy once you get to know me.
Wonderful. I'll be sure to put links to all of that in the show notes for everybody. Adam, thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you. Appreciate it.